Nobody's really ready when the last camera stops rolling. In the middle of a deserted set, with the stage lights dimming one by one, Jungkook and Jimin stood facing each other. There is no dialogue written in the script for that moment, but both know, without prompting, that this is the end of something they have lived together for a long time. The production crew watching from behind the monitors couldn't even hold back tears, as the atmosphere between the two felt more real than anything they'd ever recorded before. Since the beginning of filming of this project was announced, the enthusiasm of the public has been so great. Many are curious as to what the chemistry is like between the two BTS members after not appearing together in front of the camera for a long time. But no one expected that their final scene would be such an emotional and shaking moment. Jungkook, with a look that was hard to explain, looked down at Jimin, who looked down, as if he was holding something heavy on his chest. When the cameras started recording for the last time, the atmosphere in the studio turned into complete silence. No sound other than his second exhalation sounded so real in the boom microphone. Jimin was seen holding back tears as Jungkook stepped closer. His hands shook slightly, but he tried to stay in character. However, everything on his face is no longer acting. There was a feeling of tightness that so clearly radiated between loss, relief, and something inexplicable in words. Jungkook stared at the director, as if asking if he should continue. But the director, who also looked teary, only signaled with a small nod. Shortly after, Jungkook hugged Jimin. That's not part of the scenario. Not a single note in the script says that the scene should end with a hug. But the hug felt most appropriate, as if it were a form of language that no longer needed sentences. The crew, who had known both of them during the production process, knew very well that behind the silence of the moment there was a long story of hard work, togetherness, and brotherhood that was not easily revealed. One of the camera assistants was even seen wiping away tears quickly so as not to be recorded by another camera that was still on for behind-the-scenes documentation. After the last shot, the atmosphere on the set remained quiet. No one immediately applauded, as is usually done after the final cut is announced. Instead, everyone froze. Some of the crew seemed to stare at the monitor screens, making sure that every second of the moment was perfectly recorded. Jimin was still standing where he was, looking down, while Jungkook slowly released his embrace and took a step back. "We're done," said the director in a hoarse voice. That simple sentence feels heavy, as if it were a marker of the end of a long journey that already binds many emotions. After filming was over, the two sat in a corner of the room completely untouched by the camera. The crew made room for them to talk. Although not many words came out, small interactions such as a pat on the shoulder and a faint smile were enough to show that the two understood each other's feelings. Jungkook seemed to stare blankly at the lights that began to go out one by one. "Funny, yeah. It's like saying goodbye," she said quietly. Jimin just smiled, his eyes still wet. "Maybe it's because we've always felt that way," he replied briefly. That moment made everyone on set realize that behind their image as big idols, Jungkook and Jimin are still two humans who have a deep emotional connection, built from long years together fighting, laughing, and facing the pressures of a not always friendly industry. One of the crew members said, "They don't have to say much. The way they look at each other is enough to make everyone cry." Interestingly, after the completion of the scene, many crew members admitted that it was difficult to leave the set immediately. Some of them were still sitting in their respective seats, speechless. Others wrote small messages in the production memories book, describing how difficult it was to part with a team that had become like a family. Jungkook and Jimin themselves only left the set about an hour after everyone started tidying up the equipment. The two had walked hand in hand through the long hallway that led outside the studio, without saying much. However, some witnesses said that Jimin had patted Jungkook's hand gently before they parted ways. The next day, behind-the-scenes video documentation began to be shared internally by the production team. There you can see how the atmosphere of the last day of filming was really heavy. There is a scene of Jimin laughing a little in the midst of sadness, trying to break the atmosphere. "Don't cry, my makeup will wear off," he said jokingly, making the crew smile between sobs. But then, when the camera flashes back to Jungkook staring at her without saying anything, the laughter just disappears. Only silence remained. Many fans later learned about the scene from internal leaks and staff testimonies. On social media, the hashtag Jimin Jungkook farewell scene instantly topped global trends. Armies from around the world wrote emotional messages about how their relationship has always been something special. Not just on stage, but out of the spotlight. Some even wrote that they felt like the scene reflected BTS's real journey, which was temporarily halted due to military service, and now has to face a new chapter in a soulful way. When the media inquired about the scene, the director gave only a short but meaningful answer. "I don't want to change a single second of that scene. Everything happens naturally. They don't act, they remember," he said. The sentence caused a lot of speculation, especially among longtime fans who know how deep the friendship between Jimin and Jungkook has been since the debut. The two of them have shared a difficult time, and in every interview, the two often refer to each other as Little House in the middle of a long, tiring journey. Some entertainment observers say that the scene will probably be one of the most historic moments in the project they star in. Not only because of the stunning quality of the cinematography, but because of the emotion that feels so sincere and not made up. Many judge that this is the true form of art, when the boundary between role and reality fades away, leaving a pure emotional truth. In some early reviews, critics called this farewell scene a meeting of two souls who understand each other even without words. Beyond that, there is another little story that is not captured on camera. One of the makeup staff told me that before the last day of filming, Jimin had come earlier than usual. He sat alone in the dressing room for almost an hour, just staring at the mirror. When asked if he was okay, Jimin simply replied, "I'm trying to remember everything before it's over." Jungkook, according to the wardrobe team, was more quiet that morning. He refused to eat lunch and just sat listening to the song from his earphones. Some suspected he was preparing himself emotionally because he knew the scene would be heavy. The director admitted that from the very beginning of the production process, both of them have shown incredible maturity and professionalism. However, he also did not turn a blind eye to the emotional dynamics that grew between them during the filming. Every time the camera stops, they often talk about small things, but in a meaningful tone. "Perhaps only the two of them know the contents of the conversation," he said. For the director, working with two figures as big as they are is not only about creating a stunning spectacle, but also keeping the space so that they can remain human. After the project officially ended, neither Jungkook nor Jimin immediately made a public statement. However, a few days later, Jungkook uploaded a photo on his social media, a black and white photo showing two empty seats on the set. The caption simply read, "Thank you for everything," while Jimin, in a short interview with a music magazine, simply said, "Some breakups are too beautiful to regret." That simple sentence brought the fans back to tears. Time passed, but the moment remained alive in the memory of many of those involved. Even today, the crew still refer to that day as the day the studio cried. They know that it's not just the cameras that capture the story, it's the hearts of everyone who sees it. The scene became a symbol of how strong an emotional connection can grow from a long journey together, and how difficult it is to let go of something that is already a part of oneself. Now, when the project was finally released to the public, an incredible response came from all over the world. Many viewers wrote that they cried involuntarily when they watched the final scene. Some even admitted that they could not watch it again because it felt too heartbreaking. International media also praised the chemistry of the two beyond the limits of acting. "They are not playing a role," wrote one columnist. "They are saying a real goodbye."